Lori, would you share a little bit about the vision the little boy told you about and how his friend came to him? Explain what happened there, and then kind of share what has transpired and how you've connected with his dad and things like that this past couple days.
Day one on our site, we pulled up, got everything set out and ready, and went looking around for children and only had one that came. And then the second day, of course, word got around, we had 3. And I believe it was on Wednesday, the little guy named Tanner showed up on a little moped, long hair, glasses, adorable. And he interacted, played, had a great time with everybody. And then when it came time for kids to be counseled after the story was told, I just kind of walked over to the side of the house with him and sat down, and could tell he was very troubled. And I just asked him, I said, Tanner, do you know Jesus? And his hair kind of got in front of his face and his glasses, and he kind of turned his head and looked at me, and he said, yeah, I do. And I just said, how do you know him? And to back up just for a second, Tanner lost a friend just a couple of months ago, his best friend. He died of an asthma attack. And so I knew that at the beginning with Tanner. Anyway, we just went over and sat on the side of the house, and he was just very shy, and I felt like he wanted to trust me with his story but wasn't quite sure. And so just asked him to tell me, and he just looked at me and he said, I know him because Josh brought him to me in a dream. And Josh told Tanner, see, I cry, that he wanted him to know Jesus so that when he died he could go to heaven with Josh. And I just looked at him, I said, that is awesome. And I think once he realized that I believed him, it was just like the door opened and his little heart was ready. And so we talked, and I just asked him if he really knew what salvation was. We went through the whole thing, I explained it all to him, and he just kept nodding, and I knew he understood because I knew Jesus was already in there. He just wasn't really sure what to do with him. And so we discussed sin. We discussed our need for a Savior. We discussed what Christ did for him. And I said, do you want to nail this thing down today and never have to worry again whether or not you're a Christian or a child of God? And he said, yes, I do. So we prayed the sinner's prayer, and he asked Christ, verbally into his heart. And then the little gal that hosted our site came around because she knew Josh, the little boy that died. And so she came and sat down, and her and Tanner instantly connected. And then we began to talk about what his next step is. And I just told him, I said, you need to profess Christ before man, and then Jesus will profess you before the Father. And then we talked about baptism. He wasn't sure what that was, but we explained that. And that ended, hugged him, loved him. We packed up and went. And the next day, I was just aching for Tanner to be back, and he wasn't there. Yes, I was crushed. And but I felt very strongly from the Holy Spirit not to go after him. And so I didn't. I just prayed that he would show up, and he didn't. But then when we took all the other kids home, his father is the sheriff of Taney County. And when I pulled up to let the other kids next door off of the van, his father was sitting in his patrol car right in front of me. And I just felt led to go up and introduce myself to him and tell him who we were and what we were about and what we were doing. And we talked about Tanner and the difficulty he's had with Josh being gone. And I just encouraged Dad to try to get Tanner involved in a church because Christ's people can help him heal. And that I felt strongly that God would use Josh's death in a very positive way in that neighborhood and in that area. And just visited with the sheriff for a bit. And my question for adults always is, as a child, did you get to go to church? And he said he went a couple of times with some friends of his, but his parents never took him, which, it's like, And so I just told him, I said, there are 140 children in Hollister, Missouri, and they're here all week. And his name is Sam, and I did ask him if I could use his name, and he said yes. And I said, Sam, I'm going to challenge the kids to be in prayer for you. And I just told him there's a stronghold on this city, and there are 140 soldiers out there that are praying and bringing the gospel of Jesus Christ to lots of neighborhoods here. And I named New Elm, which is a difficult area. And of course he's skeptical and he's hardened. He does not know Christ. He knows of him and knows what he did, but there's no relationship there at all. And so I just asked him if we could be praying for him. I came back Wednesday evening, and during devotion and the sharing time, I told the kids about Tanner and asked them to be, I guess it was last night, I asked him to pray for Sam. But I had a great conversation with him, and before I left, he shook my hand, and I'm a hugger, so I went in for the hug, and he hugged me, but he had tears in his eyes. When I told him, because when I was explaining to him what Christ was doing in this area, he sees the worst of the worst. He sees nothing but evil every day. And so I asked him if I could come back down in a couple weeks and just visit with him and find out if he's seen any kind of change in the area. And I told him that I challenged the kids to continue to pray for him. Then today we went back. Tanner was asleep. The windows were open, so I got off the bus, walked up there and did my 4-finger whistle, got him out. He came out. I told him, get your teeth brushed, your shoes on, I need you. And told him he's a leader. He is a leader, and he will be the leader of the pack in that entire neighborhood. And his father, Sam, was in the garage, and I just went in the garage and visited with him, told him that we'd been praying for him, and again asked him if I could come back in a few weeks and visit with him and check and see how things are going, and he was very open to it. Today was our last day, and for a girl who didn't want to come in the first place, I am just devastated that I have to leave. But I'm only 45 minutes away, so I will be back. But Tanner and I talked today, and I just explained to him, after my praying for him, I've just felt the Holy Spirit speak to me about Tanner being the leader down there, because he does have leadership skills. And I asked him if he would start a neighborhood Bible study, and he promised me that he would, and we're going to keep in contact. I've got his number, he's got mine, we're Facebook friends, So anyway, I am so excited to see that everything I've always believed all these years is coming true right before my very eyes. And I'm amazed but not amazed, because that's just how God works, and I've experienced that for a long time. The thing for me is just, I've been behind the walls of the church for 24 years. I've got 120 kids every day as director of the preschool and daycare at our church. And I've longed to be out, because I know that's where we need to be. And it's just been such an honor and a privilege for me to be here. And I will come back and check. I'm 45 minutes away, and I'll keep you posted and let you know.
Well, what's your perception of going out of the community versus doing VBS in the church? What have you seen from that? How open are families and children in the community?
Oh my. Open, wide open, absolutely wide open.
It's interesting when you go out in the community and you realize you go where they live, how the response is from them versus trying to get them just to come.
Trying to get them to come, because they won't come. And unfortunately, many parents won't make the effort to get them here. But no, I mean, it was just like they just by the fourth day, we had 14, and then today I think we had 14 again, because we had 4 adults, so we had a total of 20. But they don't all come every day, and that's fine. But the seeds were planted. Our kids led kids to the Lord, and they are going to be on fire. And my prayer is, when I get back home, I'm probably going to be in trouble, because I'm not going to shut up about this at my church. And it's, thank God for Jamie Brown, and we'll do everything we can to help her do whatever needs to be done. Okay. So, thanks you for the opportunity. Thank you very much. Now, you can Photoshop about 60 pounds off me, right?
We can do
John?
We can